deep beneath the sands of Luxor, where the sun never touches the stone, there is a silence that has lasted for 3,000 years. Here, in the dark, the ancient Egyptians did not hide their dead. They housed them. They built cities for the deceased that were far grander than the homes of the living. They spent fortunes not on comfort, but on preservation. To the modern mind, this looks like an obsession with the end. But to them, it was an obsession with forever. We call them masters of death, but that is a misunderstanding. They were masters of life, extending beyond the breath. They believed that death was not a wall, it was a doorway, and like any doorway, it had to be kept open. But why were they so obsessed? What were they afraid would happen if they failed? Welcome to History Decoded. To understand their death, you must first understand their life. Ancient Egypt was a miracle of geography. Surrounded by deadly desert, the Nile Valley was a strip of green life in a world of brown death. Every year, the river flooded. It brought black soil. It brought food. It brought life. But when the floods receded, the land baked hard under the sun. The Egyptians watched this cycle every single year. Life, followed by dormancy. Growth, followed by decay. And then, rebirth. They saw this pattern everywhere. The sun died every evening in the west and was born again in the east. So, why should humans be any different? But there was a catch. Nature guaranteed the sun would rise. Nature guaranteed the Nile would flood. But nature did not guarantee the human soul would survive. That was a job for us. This is where the complexity begins. We speak of the soul as one thing. The Egyptians knew it was many. There was the Ka, the physical body, the Ka, your life force, your double, the Ba, your personality, often shown as a bird, the Akh, your immortal spirit, and the Ren, your name. If the body rotted, the Ka had no home. If the name was erased, the Akh could not exist. Death wasn't a single event. It was a puzzle. And if you lost even one piece, you ceased to be. This is why mummification was not a ritual. It was technology. Imagine you are a priest in Thebes. You have 70 days to save a person from extinction. First, the brain. Removed through the nose with a hook. Discarded. The mind was not needed for eternity. But the heart was everything. The stomach, lungs, liver, intestines, removed. Preserved in natron salt. Placed in canopic jars. The body was packed in salt to dry it out. Moisture is the enemy of eternity. Water brings decay. Salt brings preservation. After 40 days, the body was washed, anointed with oils, wrapped in hundreds of yards of linen, amulets placed between the layers for protection. When finished, the body did not look like a corpse. It looked like a statue, a vessel. They called the finished mummy the Sa, the noble one. Without this process, the Ka would starve. The Ba would have nowhere to land at night. The identity would scatter into the wind, They weren't preserving flesh, they were preserving identity. But a preserved body was only the ticket to enter. It did not guarantee access. Beyond the tomb lies the Duat, the underworld, and at its center, the Hall of Two Truths. Here, the dead stood before 42 judges and one scale. The heart was weighed against the feather of Ma'at. Ma'at was not a person, it was a concept. Truth, balance, order, cosmic harmony. The feather weighed nothing. So, the heart had to weigh nothing too. How do you make a heart weigh nothing? By living a life without guilt, without theft, without murder, without deceit. If the heart was heavy with sin, the scale tipped, and waiting in the shadows was Amit, the devourer. There was no hellfire, no eternal torture. Those are later inventions. The Egyptian punishment was far worse. Erasure. Amit would eat the heart. The soul would cease to exist. No afterlife, no memory, no future. This is the true source of their obsession. They weren't afraid of dying. They were afraid of never having existed at all. To protect against this erasure, they built machines. We call them tombs. They called them houses of eternity. The pyramids were not just piles of stone. They were resurrection engines. The shape mimicked the primordial mound where creation began. The shafts aligned with specific stars. Pathways for the soul to travel to the gods. Inside the tombs of the Valley of the Kings, the walls are covered in paintings. Fields of grain. Herds of cattle. Bakers baking bread. Why paint food in a tomb? Because in the afterlife, image became reality. If the offering stopped, the paintings would feed the car. If the paintings faded, the spells carved in stone would speak the food into existence. Every hieroglyph was a backup generator for the soul. They sealed these machines tight. Curses were carved into the entrance. Traps were rumored to be set, not to hurt the living, but to stop anyone from interrupting the machine's work. Disturb the body, and you break the circuit, and the light goes out forever.
Look at that. Absolutely stunning preservation. It changes everything we thought we knew about this dynasty.
Here lies the great irony of ancient Egypt. They spent millennia trying to hide their dead, to seal them away from time, to protect them from eyes. Yet, because they cared so much.
Wow, look at that gold mask.
That's King Tutankhamun. It's over 3,000 years old.
So shiny.
They are the most exposed civilization in history. Their obsession with preservation gave us history itself. Because they refused to let go, we can still hold their hand. We walk through their museums and feel a connection. We read their letters. We see their toys. We look into their eyes. They wanted to be remembered by the gods. Instead, they are remembered by us. In their quest to defeat death, they achieved the only immortality that matters: memory.